Hey, what's going on, everyone? So we're answering your questions today. Again, we're still down here in Georgia at the 17U WWBA National Championship. We come every year, great tournament. So answering your questions, going through YouTube and Instagram. And today's question is about my high school practice routine. So what did I do at practice? How was I able to improve my skills? And so I'm going to give you some insight into what I did. I'm from Massachusetts, keep that in mind. Our high school season is pretty short. We play usually 20 games in a season, then we play summer ball. And I'm going to give you a basic outline of what I did. Again, I played high school ball a long time ago, 20 years ago. I was a freshman even before 20 years ago. So it's been a really, really long time. But I think routines are extremely important. If you want to be a really good player, development is going to come at practice. And a lot of development is going to come before and after practice. And then also, are you taking care of the fine details at practice? And not every team is going to force you to do these things, but you can do them on your own. And that's what's really, really important. Let me go back to where this kind of began. I think a lot of my really good practice habits and routines started when I started playing travel baseball at 13 years old. Not to say I didn't have those earlier. I worked really hard when I was younger. My dad was my coach. He did a good job of running a really good practice up until I was 12 years old. But when I became 13 years old, I went and played for a team called the New England Lightning. And this team was one of the top travel teams, maybe the top travel team in our area. Back then, there were not very many travel teams. You know, there was like 5, 6, or 7 in our entire state. And players would come from New Hampshire and Rhode Island and Connecticut and Massachusetts and all over the place and play on these teams. And for me, this was a huge moment in my career because I learned things that I had not learned prior to that. And it really created really good habits for me to take into high school. It's one thing that we talk a lot about with our Antonelli baseball players. I actually had a call today with a player's parent that's looking to join our team potentially. And I talked about creating good habits and getting players ready for high school baseball and to make their high school baseball teams. And that's what travel baseball did for me. And it created these habits. Our practices were these legit practices that, to that point, you know, you have a good little league practice. Again, my dad ran a good practice, but these were really long practices. They were very detailed. They were on us about every little thing we did. And so let me give you an idea from my perspective as an infielder, and then you can, we make a lot of videos on outfield drills and catching drills and pitching drills and all that, and you can branch off and do your own routines. But I want to give you an idea of what I did as a high school player. So let's start off with a couple of things real quick. First, again, I was in Massachusetts. Baseball season isn't long. I played multiple sports. So I played football in the fall and played hockey in the winter. And I did do some baseball in the fall. You know, I think I played like on Sundays in fall ball. My dad was running a team. And during the winter, I did a little bit of winter workouts when I could get to them around my hockey schedule. But baseball really started for me basically in April. So April, May, June, and July was like my baseball season. And then football usually started up in August. Okay, so with that in mind, as a high school player, in the off season, didn't do a ton of baseball, but when the season began, I was very, very good at having these good habits and having these routines and making sure that I stuck to them. And sometimes they can be boring and monotonous, but in order to be a good baseball player, you have to be able to do the boring things. Because that's where you get really, really good. So if you don't like boring things, you're probably not going to be a very good baseball player. And not to say that these are all boring, right? But some people might think of these as like, oh, these are boring drills, right? And so here are some things that I would always do as an infielder. And again, I learned these through my travel program, and we have our Antonelli baseball players do these. But I did these pretty much every day. And so when I show up to practice, typically you're going to start out with a stretch, right? You're going to get your body ready to go, and you're going to go into a throwing routine. When you do your throwing routine, it's really, really important to make sure that you are getting solid reps. You are training and not just throwing, not just warming up. A lot of people say, hey, let's go warm up our arms. It's really important to train. And so you're training the catch. So I remember at 13U, they were really honest. This was the first time they were honest about any ball that was basically within the framework of our body. We're always deflecting the ball. So we're never just catching and then taking the ball out and talking to our buddy and throwing the ball. But every ball that we catch, we're deflecting. And we're working on having the ball go from glove to hand seamlessly, right? And so when we field ground balls, we deflect, right? When we turn double plays, we deflect. When we catch balls from the outfield on relays, a lot of balls are deflected. And so really working on that deflection and getting really, really good at that skill. So again, not just warming up, but training. And training not just when we're throwing, but also when we're catching the ball. And we've taken that a step further, and we'll have players work on, again, you're playing catch with your partner, and maybe you're working on tags, or maybe you're working on cutoff and relay footwork. Or you can, balls coming at you, you can work on double play feeds. You feel the ball like your shortstop, set up the throw, and then go back in line and throw the ball to your partner. So all these things that you can do, you can create these routines for yourselves, which are really, really important. So that's the first thing when it comes to playing catch. Right, working on all of these small things, working on different arm angles, working on throwing off your wrong foot. You've probably seen a lot of our videos. We work off wrong foot throws, which would be on slow rollers, right? And so that's part of my routine. Really, really important to have that. Okay, after we get done playing catch, and actually let me back up for a second. Playing long toss. I played a lot of long toss. I had a good arm as a player. In order to have a good arm, you have to throw. You have to throw a lot. And I got that through paying attention to the details and making every throw important, and then also playing long toss. And I think that's really beneficial. One problem I see is too many players don't throw. Right? If I just tell players to go out and go through a throwing routine and I don't push them back far, some players think that 90 feet is all they need. And I talk a lot about how there's a lot of throws in games that are further than 90 feet. So if we're not going to practice it, how do we expect to do it in a game, right? And the arm is a tool that's graded by college coaches and high school coaches. Every coach, every scout is going to grade out your arm. So how are we supposed to get a better arm if we're not working on it? And so challenge yourself, push yourself out there, right? See how far you can throw the ball. I'm not saying you have to do it every day, but if you want to be able to throw the ball hard and fast, you got to practice throwing the ball hard and fast, okay? So also think about that as part of my routine. Now after that, I always would take a buddy and go through a hands routine. Now we've made a ton of videos on these hands routines, but your team doesn't have to run it. Your coach doesn't have to run it. You can do this. One thing that I learned, and my text messages are going crazy over there. One thing that I learned, again, from travel ball, is that when there's downtime, you shouldn't just be sitting around doing nothing. So we would do it if there was any time before a game that something wasn't happening, or if there was time during practice, you play catch with your buddy and you finish before everyone else is done. You don't just sit around and wait and talk about video games. You get down and you do a hands routine, right? And so you can just type in Antonelli baseball hands routine, you'll find our routine. But grab a friend, grab a buddy, and go through that routine. Every extra rep that you can get, right? Even if it's 10, 20, 30, 40 reps, if you do it every day, that equals thousands of reps over a year. And then they put the years together. They start stacking the years on top of each other. And you're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of extra reps, right? So it's really, really important. We used to play a game where we'd get in a circle with 3, 4, 5 players, and we would just work on kind of tapping the ball to each other, see how long we can keep the ball in the air, and just working on glove skills. Right, so making these creative games, but not just if there's dead time, do something that can improve your skills. And it's fun, right? Instead of just sitting around and talking or eating bubble gum, do something that is fun, but also building skills. Now, take this to the offensive side, having a routine. Everyone's routine is different, but understanding what you're trying to work on. Right? What do you need to improve on? Know your strengths and your weaknesses, and don't wait for someone to make you do it. Right? So whether that's some tee work or getting some soft toss, back in the day we used to do just have your buddy flip your soft toss and hit it into a fence or into a net. right? I'm actually really surprised today. You watch kids, you say, hey, can you flip to him, or can you soft toss to him? And they're like, they have no idea how to do it because they've never done it. They've only had a coach do it to them, right? I don't want to sound like the old guy, like back in my day, but I'm going to do that. Back in my day, like we flip to each other. You know, you grab a partner, you find a fence or a net, and you flip to your buddy. You hit it into the net, right? So you got to know how to do that, and you've got to be able to do that. So that's a huge part of it as well, right? So the biggest thing, right, when I think back to my high school career and what I did, and people always ask, like, you know, how did you get better and how did you improve? And I made a video a few days ago talking about how if you looked at me at 13 years old, you know, my coach Kevin Winship was talking to me a few days ago and said, you know, I would have never thought that you would have gotten drafted or played in the major leagues, but you kept getting better, right? How do you do that? You have a plan, right? And you have to work hard, but you have to, it's about the details, the small details. Figure out what it is that's going to make you a better player. Either you figure it out or you got to ask your coach. And then you have to do it. You have to put the work in before practice, after practice, and during practice. And so when I was at practice, it was like serious practice time. I was not there to mess around, right? I can hang out with my friends afterwards or before, but during practice time, like I'm going 100%. I'm dialed in. I'm focused on every little drill that I'm doing because I'm trying to get better, right? When I'm doing deflections, I'm everything I've got to be the best deflector out of everyone on that team, right? When I'm doing the hands routine, my goal is to be the best, do the absolute best hands routine of anyone on my team. And so that was kind of the philosophy I took. I always wanted to try to be the best one there and do it absolutely perfect. Because that's the only way you're going to get really, really, really good. So hopefully that helps you out. And I did this through the spring and through the summer. Right? And it's, again, it doesn't have to be every single day. Sometimes people think like you have to do it every day. You don't have to do it every day, but you can probably find a few minutes every day, even if it's not at your team practice, right? And a lot of improvement is done away from the team, especially today where practices aren't as, for a lot of teams, important. A lot of teams just play games now. The improvement comes through practice. So you have to make sure you're practicing. And that might mean just being on your own with a racquetball on a wall and just throwing the ball off the wall and just going through your routine, right? That's super important. I used to take a golf ball. I can't believe my parents let me do this. I used to take a golf ball and I had this little mini training glove and I used to throw the golf ball off of my garage and I would field it. I can't imagine what the garage looked like with how many dents I must have put in the thing. But, you know, at 13, 14, 12, 11 years old, I'm not really thinking about my garage. Which is funny. I always yell at my son, like, what are you doing? You whip a ball to the garage. I'm like, don't throw the ball at the garage. Like, find a better wall or something. But I was doing the same thing 25 years ago. So, but you have to be able to do that stuff on your own and get creative, okay? And so I did that throughout the summer, throughout the spring and throughout the summer, right? And then after I played travel ball, I ended up playing for a team called the Ohio Warhawks out in Ohio, where we literally lived baseball. I lived in Ohio, and that's all we did. We all lived in the same house. We woke up. Our coach would wake us up super early, bring us down to the practice field. If we were what we called the nest, where we all lived, there wasn't a whole lot of hanging out. It was like you're outside, you're hitting into a net, you're working out, you're doing something to get better. So, and I would do that for 2 months. I'd live out there for 2 months, and we'd play in tournaments. I actually played in this tournament that I'm at right now. I played in this tournament 20 years ago, multiple times. So, but it's all about working hard, understanding what you need to work on, and then doing the work, right? Just doing the work is the important thing. So hopefully that helps you out. It gives you a little insight into my high school routine. So if you have any more questions, put in the comment section below, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, give it a thumbs up, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you later. If you've got hitters that you're looking to improve before the start of next season, this is essential for you. Matt Antonelli here, former Major League player, first-round pick, and college coach. With this course, we're going to show you exactly, step-by-step, how to generate power, develop bat speed, and enhance swing mechanics. Regardless of your hitter's age, this course is going to deliver advanced hitting techniques that will allow any hitter to get better and make an impact at the plate this spring. We have a full catalog of training content that you can access from anywhere at any time. This course is perfect for players, parents, coaches, instructors, and more. It offers a comprehensive package of drills and techniques that you can directly implement. Our course has helped hitters all over the country at different competition levels, and the feedback that we've received has been outstanding. The work you put in now will drive your success at the plate this spring. Get the essential knowledge that you need to take your game to the next level.